The city. Oh, didn't see you there. I'm just standing here looking out into the neighborhood, drinking a glass of cranberry juice. Ocean Spray, because that's the only brand of cranberry juice that matters. Justine. Today, I'm going to be... Man, it is very reverberant over here. Ooh. Hear that? Ooh. Let's move somewhere else. So today, as promised, I'm going to show you how to use the different Flex audio settings in Logic Pro. Okay, so I'm going to try to challenge myself. Originally, I thought I was going to just use one sample for the whole track, but I'm going to try to use 5 samples and nothing more to create an entire track. And I'm going to use the Flex audio to make different elements. I'm going to try to limit myself to 5. But first, let's find out how to use all these Flex editing tools. So let's get into Logic Pro. So the first Flex editing tool that you have at your disposal is the slicing feature. Here's the sample without Flex audio. Now I'm going to turn on the slice flex mode. Listen to what happens when I change the slice length within the settings. This will work all the way down to where you just hear the transients. So next we have the polyphonic mode. The polyphonic mode will work on any chordal instrument. So that'll be your guitars, your pianos, anything that's going to be playing more than one note together, you want to use polyphonic. So let's listen to this. Something to note is that these samples have a set BPM. So whenever you load them into a project, if it's a different BPM, then the project will automatically stretch or shrink down the sample to where it needs to be. So say I wanted to extend out this section right here. So I would put a marker here. And the reason I'm putting a marker here is to keep this section in place. And I just want to stretch out this chord. So here's what it sounds like before. Here's what it sounds like when I extend it. So if you ever need to fill in a place and make a chord longer to fill in the bar or fill in a section, use polyphonic mode if you're using your guitars or your pianos or anything that you're using that has more than one note. The next mode is monophonic. This does the same thing as polyphonic except with single note instruments. Here's the original. Let's take maybe this last note. So we want to anchor the beginning of the note and the end. And then we're just going to pull the end out and make it longer. That's pretty cool, right? The rhythmic feature works in 2 ways. First, with rhythmic instruments, whether they be polyphonic or monophonic. Whether they be polyphonic or mono. Let's just move on. So here's what you can do with a rhythm guitar. One thing when you're doing rhythmic movements in your Flex audio, you want everything that's going to stay in place to be anchored. Let's say I wanted to move this rhythm here. I want to keep this in place, and I want to keep this in place. Otherwise, if I move it, everything will be moved with it, all the in-between spaces. Here's what it sounds like before. After. You can also use this method for your drums. Here's before. After. You can get some really crazy rhythms when you're using the Rhythmic Flex audio editor. The last 2 versions are more effects. So if you're using the last 2, you're trying to alter the sound drastically. The first one is speed. These movements determine the pitch of what your sample is going to be. The smaller you shrink the sample,
the higher the pitch is going to be.
The longer you make the sample,
the lower the pitch is going to be.
So here's the original. Here's what it sounds like when we shrink it down. Here's what it sounds like when we lengthen it. The last effect I like to call the transformer effect, because this is where you get your like growls, and I'm pretty sure this is what they use for dubstep. I don't know. Somebody let me know in the comments. Here's how it sounds originally. Here's how it sounds shrunken down in the Tempophone Flex Edit. Now, one thing about Tempophone that's really cool, if you look here where it says grain size, if you change this, it changes the effect of how it sounds. So listen to how it sounds when I have 49 millisecond grain size, and how it sounds when I increase it. As you change the crossfades and make them smaller, the sound gets choppier. Now that you know all this, I'm going to go find my samples, and then we're going to make a track. Just kidding.
Got him!
I'm just going to use the samples that we were already using earlier. Make my life a little bit easier. Okay, that was something. Don't know if it's a song yet. Whatever. It definitely was something. These are basically times to teach and also times for me to experiment. So I get a little bit of both. Hopefully you got something out of it. For next week's video, who knows what that'll be, but
It's gonna be zoppitty.
Anyway, I'm going to get out of here because words are just like hard for me right now. I'll see you guys next week. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Follow me. See you later.